So it is my great pleasure now to introduce our keynote speaker, Laura Baldwin. She has a science background and graduated from the University of Southampton. Early in life, she was an Olympic sailor and 2 times Olympic sailing coach, and is a member of the World Olympians Association, Environment Committee, and Champions for Earth. Now she's a member of the Green Party of England and Wales Executive Campaigns Committee, an Extinction Rebellion UK spokesperson, a live stream presenter and activist, and she's also on the Champions for Earth core team, educating, inspiring, and supporting past and present sportspersons to speak and act for climate and nature. If that wasn't enough, she's also founder of Portland for the Planet and Weymouth and Portland Transitions Town Group. Please put your hands together for Laura.
Thank you, thank you. I'd like to introduce myself as just an ordinary Dorset resident, a very concerned mum who likes to keep busy. I'd like to echo all the thanks to everybody for putting this amazing event together. It's really important to galvanize in this moment. You know, it really is a critical moment for us all to come together, to collaborate collectively within our communities. We need to change at speed. More so now than ever, we need to implement the changes with determination. If you, like me, are still reluctantly plugged into the mainstream media, social media platforms and networks, you're likely being bombarded daily by, climate horrific and heartbreaking daily impacts that are affecting people around the world. News of increased higher than ever temperatures, lower than ever ice fall, whole marine species wiping out, coupled with policies going in the opposite direction. Fossil fuel companies making record profits, more and more people being pushed into poverty. Protections for nature eroding. But remember this: change always seems most impossible right before it tips. As the climate scientist, I'm really fortunate that I've been able to speak one-to-one with a lot of the world's leading scientists and hear directly from them. Peter Kalmus, he says that there is never a time to quit. There's never a time to give up. That the more we do, the more we'll save. COVID actually proved that when there is political will, everything can change overnight and in an instant. And it proved that when people understand the consequences, they're willing to make tremendous sacrifices to safeguard those they love. My love for my child is so strong that that's what motivates me to take action every single day, so that I can at least look him in the eyes and be able to tell him when he asks me, "Mummy, what did you do whilst there still was time to act?" I need to be clear of conscience in that moment, able to tell him that I did everything I could think to. So I'm listed on the schedule as a climate science communicator. I have indeed communicated the science quite often over the last 4 years. I studied sciences at college and university, and yet it wasn't until January 2019 that I learned that the planet is on the brink of catastrophic climate change and ecological collapse. Like, how did I not know this? I mean, I was a bit busy, single-minded athlete and all that, but since then, I've been focusing all I can on learning all about the problems and solutions, regularly asking myself, what can I do? What's the best use of my time, energy, and skills? What's going to make the biggest difference? I thought until recently that if we could just tell enough people how bad the situation is, how much worse it's going to get, that would trigger the necessary action. It worked for me. Listening to the scary facts, reading the scientific papers, watching the documentaries, that motivated me to jump into action. But for most people, hearing scary facts, even uncomfortable information, shuts them down, switches them off. They're already on the brink of losing it because of the struggles of just the challenges of day-to-day life, which is getting harder and harder. Or they just feel disempowered, don't know what to do. So scaring, guilting, and shaming people for not taking action for climate won't work. Typically, people then are jumping from disbelief into fatalism. Oh, it's too late. Neither are going to spark the necessary action. But thanks to the likes of Sir David Attenborough, Chris Packham, who's kindly endorsed this important event, the school strikers and the climate activists who sacrifice so much of themselves in order to sound the alarm. 80%, polls show 80% of this country want action on climate. So why then is our government gifting new fossil fuels? Why are the companies making record-breaking profits? Why are people being pushed into poverty? Why? Well, if you listen to Al Gore's latest TED Talk, he is titled, What the Fossil Fuel Industry Doesn't Want You to Know. It's really exceptional. You've all got to go and Google that after this and go and watch it. He shines a light very much calling out the fossil fuel industry for their opposition on climate, mounted by the fossil fuel industry themselves, doing everything they can to slow down progress through their lobbying, their think tanks, through their networks, through political and economic power. He calls them out. He says they've used fraud on a massive scale. Why? So they can make more money. Al Gore also dispels that carbon capture and storage is going to save us. There's this great image he shows of the carbon capture unit in Iceland, and it's full of these windsocks that are all quite limp at the back. And then he says, yeah, I had the same thought too. If they work at the spec that they're supposed to, they'll sequester 27 seconds of annual global emissions. Like, the technology just does not exist right now for us to hope for a techno solution to this. And he calls out the COP for having been completely and utterly hijacked by the fossil fuel industries. It's like they're not even trying to pretend anymore. They've given the presidency to the CEO of the largest oil company. It can seem hopeless, can't it? But it is not. Enormous momentum for change around the world is building. China is 5 years ahead of its renewable targets. Brazil voted in a new leader that was a win for the Amazon. All new cars now sold in Norway are electric. Legal cases are mounting, and that's been really boosted by the UN strengthening the rights of the child to a clean environment, putting on pressure from every direction. The US, some states have banned new oil wells and are phasing out existing ones at speed. Many banks have declared that they'll no longer fund fossil fuels. Lawyers are refusing to take cases for fossil fuels as well. So there's plenty of good news. But this is, however, no excuse for complacency. The problem is still escalating faster than the solutions are being rolled out. And our climate has already destabilized to the point where we do need to be prepared for climate impacts hitting us, and we need to be resilient for what might come. So last year, the UN, they announced that 1.5 was no longer achievable without rapid transformational change. The media the next day reported 1.5 is dead. Not a single media front page said, hey, it's time for transformational change. Transformational change, sorry. And little has been communicated since about how truly brilliant transformational change could be for everyone. Like, the changes we need to make shouldn't be feared, they should be dreamed of, longed for, and demanded. So how do we bring everyone on this incredible transformational journey? How can we put climate front and center without pushing people away? How do we catalyze big picture, can-do thinking? How do we get people wanting the changes to happen and encourage them all to roll up their sleeves and to contribute to making these positive changes happen? Well, events like this today, brilliant step Really powerful to make that happen locally. But we need a new narrative. Telling people what to do can be quite disempowering, can meet resistance. So the proven effectiveness of deliberative participatory democracy, people's assemblies, citizens' assemblies, there is an almighty power in hearing people's ideas, in feeling heard, in being consulted and considered, respected, and part of the decision-making process. Even if the outcomes are not what their ideas were, they have collective ownership on the decisions made, and that lowers resistance and increases consent. We need to put out invitations. People need to be invited to join, and some people need to be invited many, many times before they'll actually come and join. And storytelling. I learned through my own life the power of the stories that I tell myself. How important it is to believe that things are possible. And let's simplify the message. Because not everyone has a scientific mind for facts, and hearing things you don't understand is equally off-putting. So perhaps instead of speaking about emissions, we speak about pollution. Air pollution, water pollution, because that is affecting us now. And campaigns for nature. Nature wins many hearts and minds. The March for Nature in London this Earth Day, it filled me with so much hope. There were so many people there. It just blew my mind. The march, the front of the march met to the back of the march. There was just no more room. It just had to sort of follow itself around. It was phenomenal. Power in numbers, power to the people. So I've been enormously inspired by Rob Hopkins, the co-founder of Transition Town, author of the book, What Is to What If? And he's been going around giving these talks, and he dresses up in a spacesuit, and he holds this sign that says, "I've been to the future, and we won." And I think that's just so brilliant to think of it that way, is this is all part of the process, and we are going to win this, and that'll help us to keep motivating, to keep going, keep forward. I got invited to go on one of his podcasts with Sky Sports presenter David Garrido recently. And on his podcasts, he takes us in his spaceship to 2030, and he asks us to vision what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what it looks like, how it feels. He uses really wonderful descriptive terminologies like it's tantalizing, delicious, irresistible. We've got to kind of brainstorm these words that really captivate people's imaginations and start to make them feel good about this and excited, because the changes that we need to make, we need to promote them in ways that are exciting, appealing, and basically irresistible. So we bring everybody along. I'm not going to share my vision. I'm just going to say, go and look at his podcast and hear what it is that David and I came up with. It was loads of fun. And also, I put an invitation out to you all to do the same thing, leading up to that, brainstorming ideas, letting my imagination go wild and think, how could things be? It was really enjoyable. What comes next could be the best chapter for humanity yet. It could be beautiful, rewarding, and will most certainly improve the living conditions for the majority. To achieve this, we need to help ourselves to feel happy. I know that can be really challenging with the news that we hear, but happiness enables us to access the parts of the brain that solve complex problems and come up with great ideas. We need to be creative, and creativity gets switched off by feelings of stress and by being busy all the time. So we need to give ourselves time to daydream, to come up with our greatest ideas yet. Each of you here has huge opportunity to think up and make happen the changes that we need to make. Find your purpose. What sparks passion inside of you? What makes you feel motivated and excited? There's a huge opportunity for personal transformation, to reinvigorate yourself by setting goals that get you buzzing. Focus on your positive contribution, and this will help to avoid the paralysis of fear of the collective failure. Be a part of the new, regenerative, fair, and just story for humanity, regaining our balance with nature. Amplified by storytellers, artists, musicians, those who can create the emotional connection with the earth. Dare to dream. Vision what your mission could be. once you land on what it is that you're going to dedicate your time and energy to, set to it and invite others to join you, and then share the stories so that inspires others. Because together, side by side, united in a mission, we can and we will. And if not you, who? And if not now, when? Well, kind of has to be now. So get excited, get imagining, because it's time to dream, believe, and achieve. Thank you.